Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something specific.
Mhm.
What drives graduate students when it comes to research?
Yeah. What's the motivation engine?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've got a great source for this, a brand new systematic review. It's from the Educational Psychology Review. Just came out August 2024.
Out off the presses, basically.
It is. It's called a systematic review of graduate students' research motivation, themes, theories, and methodologies. And it's pretty comprehensive.
Looks like they analyzed, what, 57 different papers?
57, yeah. Articles and conference papers, going all the
Yeah.
way back to 1993 up to 2023. So
Yeah.
a good 30-year span.
That's quite a scope. And, for you, the learner, listening in, if you like, getting right to the core of things, those aha moments, without, wading through tons of jargon.
Right.
This deep dive is really geared for that. It synthesizes what fuels research at that high level, might even give you a different way to think about your own learning process.
Yeah, definitely. So our mission today, pretty straightforward. Pull out the key nuggets from this review.
The good stuff.
The good stuff. What are the main themes? What theories are people using? And how are they actually studying this stuff?
Okay, let's do it. Where should we start? Maybe the overall goal of all those studies they reviewed.
Good idea.
Hmm.
What was the common thread? Why were researchers looking into this in the first place?
Well, the review found a pretty consistent aim across the board. Basically, everyone was trying to understand graduate student research motivation,
Okay.
mostly so they could figure out how to improve research performance, better outcomes.
Makes sense. Understand the why to improve the what's. So after looking at all 57 studies, what were the big conclusions of the review itself?
So the reviewers did a nice job synthesizing. They essentially grouped the findings into three main buckets, three categories related to research motivation.
Okay, what are they?
First, you've got antecedents. These are the factors that come before motivation, things that might influence
All right,
it.
antecedents. Got it.
Then the consequences, the outcomes of having that motivation, what happens because of it.
Okay, before and after. What's the third?
The third is mediating roles. This is about how research motivation itself kind of acts as a bridge or a link between other factors.
Interesting. Like a connector.
Yes, sir.
Antecedents, consequences, mediating roles.
Mhm.
Okay, so within those categories, where did the review find most research as focused?
Yeah, this is where it gets particularly interesting. The learner. The review showed a real imbalance.
How so?
The vast majority of studies, overwhelmingly, looked at what they termed manipulable antecedents.
Manipulable. So things you can actually change.
Exactly. Things in the environment and the training, stuff that institutions or advisors could potentially influence, like quality of supervision, available resources, program structure, that kind of thing.
Okay, that seems practical. You study what you think you can fix or improve.
Right. But here's the flip side, and it's a key point the review makes.
What's the gap?
The gaps are significant. They found much less research on immutable antecedents.
Immutable, like things you can't easily change.
Precisely. Maybe inherent traits like personality or, a student's background before grad school. That stuff's way less studied.
Okay, what else is underexplored?
Also, the consequences of motivation. We know it likely affects research output, but what about, say, well-being or career choices? The broader impact, not much there.
Yeah.
And those mediating roles, how motivation connects other factors, also not well understood. So the review basically says, look, we know a lot about the changeable inputs, but the picture is incomplete.
So a big focus on the adjustable knobs in the system, less on the fundamental student characteristics or the wider ripple effects.
Yeah.
Very interesting. What about theoretical frameworks? Was there one dominant theory driving this research?
Oh, definitely. One theory stood out quite clearly.
Which one?
Self-efficacy theory.
Yeah.
Based largely on Albert Bandura's work from the mid-90s and others who built on it. That was by far the most common theoretical lens used.
Self-efficacy.
Hmm.
Okay, quick refresher for everyone listening. What's the core idea there?
Sure. So self-efficacy is basically your belief in your own ability to succeed at a specific task.
Right.
In this context, it's a graduate student's confidence, their belief that they can actually plan and execute the actions needed to do their research effectively.
So it's about, I believe I can do this.
Pretty much. And the fact that this theory was so dominant really suggests that researchers see that self-belief as a cornerstone of research motivation.
Okay, belief is key.
Yeah.
Now, how were researchers measuring this motivation and self-efficacy? What methods were common?
Yeah, the review found a very strong trend here, too. Quantitative research designs were really the main approach.
Quantitative, so numbers, statistics.
Right. And within that quantitative world, the go-to tool was the self-report questionnaire.
Ah, surveys, asking students directly about their motivation, their beliefs, how they feel.
Exactly that. Fill out this form, rate your motivation, rate your confidence, etc. That was the dominant method by a long shot.
Okay, relying heavily on what students say about themselves. Are there any potential issues with that being the main method?
Well, yeah, and the review authors point this out. It raises an important question, doesn't it? While surveys give you lots of data easily,
Mm-hmm.
there's always the question of self-report bias. Do people always accurately perceive or report their own internal states?
Mm.
Or maybe they answer in a way they think is expected.
Social desirability, maybe? Or just not being fully aware?
Could be either, or both. So this heavy reliance on questionnaires is why the review explicitly calls for exploring alternative measurements. We need more ways to look at this.
Right, need to triangulate maybe, get different angles. So did the review authors try to synthesize all this into their own model or framework?
They did, actually. Based on pulling everything together from those 57 studies, they proposed something called the Graduate Students Research Motivation Model, GSRMM for short.
GSRMM.
And this model basically tries to visually represent the interplay between those pieces we talked about, the antecedents, the consequences, and motivation itself acting as that mediator. It's their attempt at a unified picture.
A conceptual map, sort of. Helpful. Now let's circle back briefly. Those manipulable antecedents, the things that were studied a lot. Can you give a few more concrete examples? What kind of changeable factors are we talking about?
Sure. Think about things like the quality of advising.
Yeah.
How often do students meet with supervisors? Is the feedback helpful?
Okay, advising quality. What else?
Access to resources is another big one. Do they have funding, lab space, library access, good statistical software? Also, the structure of their actual research training. Are the methods courses good? Are there workshops, mentorship programs?
So tangible support systems and training structures. Makes sense.
Yeah, things universities and departments can actively manage, at least in theory.
Right. Now on the flip side, those underexplored areas, immutable antecedents, consequences, mediating roles. What might researchers look at there? Can you speculate a bit based on the review's gaps?
Well, for immutable antecedents, you might look at, say, personality dimensions, like does conscientiousness or openness to experience predict higher research motivation from the get-go?
Interesting. Like pre-existing traits.
Or maybe things like prior academic achievements or even socioeconomic background factors the student brings with them.
Okay. And consequences beyond just publications or degree completion.
Yeah, maybe things like, does high research motivation correlate with lower burnout or greater career satisfaction 5 years down the line? Does it lead to more innovative research, not just more papers? The broader, maybe longer-term effects.
And the mediating roles, how motivation connects things.
So an example there might be, does good mentorship directly lead to higher productivity? Or does good mentorship first boost motivation, and then that higher motivation leads to productivity? Understanding those pathways.
Gotcha. So motivation as the crucial link in the chain. Okay, this paints a clearer picture of the research landscape and that prevalence of self-efficacy theory. Why is its dominance so significant? What does it tell us?
It really signals that the field, implicitly or explicitly, views a student's belief in their research competence as absolutely central.
That's foundational.
Foundational, yeah.
Yeah.
It suggests that interventions focused on building that competence, maybe through skills training, supportive feedback, celebrating small wins, are seen as like the most promising levers for boosting motivation and performance.
Yeah.
It puts psychological belief front and center.
Which feels intuitively right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Believing you can is often half the battle.
It often is.
But then we have the limitation. You mentioned the heavy reliance on self-reports. Let's just underline that concern again for the learner. Why is diversification of methods so important here?
It's really about getting a more robust and potentially more objective picture. Self-reports give you the student's perspective, which is valuable, but it's just one piece.
Right.
As we said, biases can creep in. Plus, it might miss unconscious drivers. So, bringing in other methods, maybe observing students' actual research habits, analyzing their work patterns, conducting in-depth interviews to get richer narratives, maybe even like experimental designs.
Testing specific interventions.
Exactly. Using multiple methods helps you cross-check findings and build a more complete, more nuanced understanding than surveys alone can provide.
Makes total sense. You get a richer tapestry of data. Okay, so wrapping up the findings, what are the big implications here? Where does this review suggest the field should head next?
The direction seems pretty clear from the review's conclusions. Priority number one, fill those knowledge gaps.
The immutable antecedents, the broader consequences, the mediating roles?
Yes, tackle those head on. That requires designing studies specifically aimed at those areas. And priority number two, diversify the toolkit.
Move beyond just questionnaires.
Embrace methodological pluralism. Use qualitative approaches, longitudinal studies that follow students over time, maybe even mixed methods designs that combine quantitative and qualitative data. That's how the field will likely make the next leap in understanding.
A call for broader scope and richer methods. Got it.
Okay.
So for you, the learner, let's crystallize this. This deep dive really shows that while we understand a fair amount about how, say, good advising or resources can boost a grad student's research drive.
The manipulable stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
There's still these big question marks around more inherent student factors and the full impact of that motivation. The power of self-belief, that self-efficacy piece comes through loud and clear,
Definitely a key theme.
but the way we study this needs to evolve, become more varied, to really grasp the whole complex picture.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to maybe a final thought, something for you, the learner, to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
Given how central self-efficacy, that belief in your own ability, appears to be for motivating high-level research, how could you apply that insight to your own goals, your own learning, your work, maybe even hobbies?
Interesting question.
Could consciously working on building your belief that you can tackle a challenge, that you can learn that new skill, be a powerful key to unlocking deeper engagement and maybe achieving more than you thought possible?
So not just focusing on the task, but also on cultivating the belief before you even start.
Yeah. This review kind of suggests that cultivating that self-belief might not just be helpful, it might actually be the crucial first step on the path to motivation and success, something to consider.